Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Non Bros Pod. I'm Justin.
And I'm John. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you're new here, please subscribe, hit the like button, and please ensure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of our daily content. Today, we're going to be diving into True Detective Season 1, Episode 1, which my brother and I both believe is probably the best show of all time. Talked a little bit about it last week.
Yeah, I like the idea where every week we'll do an episode breakdown till we get through the series. I mean, I agree. It's a perfect show and never gets old to me at least anyway. And yeah, hopefully for the viewers as well.
Absolutely. Now, before we dive into episode 1, though, I have a little challenge for you, John.
Mhm.
Obviously, the homework over the week was we both watch episode 1, even though we probably both know it by heart. And it got me thinking detective movies. So, what I have for you here to
Ooh,
start off this episode, I have 5 detective movies. They have all different types of storylines, actors, actresses, and I'm going to throw them at you one at a time, and I want you to blind rank them 1 through 5. You
okay.
ready for
I
this?
like it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, movie number 1, Prisoners.
Man, starting off hot. I'm gonna go number two.
Okay, talk about it a bit. Why there?
I mean, Dennis Villeneuve or something. I mean, Denny Villeneuve or whatever the directors. I mean, it's just an amazing movie. Again, another one that doesn't get old. I mean, I've watched it probably 2 dozen times.
Yeah, same dude.
It's so good. Jake Gyllenhaal, I would say one of his best roles that he, you know, has been in. Nocturnal Animals is up there for him.
I want to know how you killed them. I want to know if they knew it was happening to them. I want to know what they felt. I want to know if they hurt.
Probably those two films are
It's
probably,
amazing.
in my opinion, his best. But
Yeah.
Prisoners, amazing. Hugh Jackman has a great role. Um,
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, talk about somebody who gets no respect. Quentin Tarantino just ripped him
Yeah.
one. I don't
Seen
understand
that shit?
that because, yeah, I actually went back and watched There Will Be Blood, and that's not one of my
Yeah.
favorites, but it is a good movie. Daniel Day-Lewis is great in everything he's in. Paul Dano, though, he plays a really good role in that movie. But anyway, Prisoners, the cast is great. The storyline's epic. That's one that you can watch over and over again and pick up on little subtleties and you know things to interpret differently each time you watch. And yeah, I just love it. It's really dark. The cliffhanger ending, probably one of the best of all time. And it also just pisses you off, when you watch it. You're just like,
Yeah,
ooh, it makes your blood boil. But a
definitely.
great movie. I watched it with Amanda not that long ago, actually, maybe within the last year. Keeps you on the edge of your seat, thriller, good pace to it. Yeah, love it. So I'm gonna go with number two to start. Hopefully that doesn't bite me.
Blind ranking, 5 detective movies. He's going Prisoners number 2. I like it. Second movie, Seven.
I'll go four.
Oh,
Four,
okay.
seven's good. I love David Fincher, all of his films. But that, like, I mean, that one is like the start of his buildup of his career. I feel like he's got it as far in terms of detective movies, it's great. It's, iconic, what's in the box?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, who's amazing and everything, Uh, and the script is good, but in terms of, I don't even feel like that's one of Fincher has better detective movies in my opinion. Zodiac being one of them.
Mm.
So,
Is it on
yeah,
the list? Is it not? We
it
shall
better be
see.
on the list.
We shall see. Yeah, really quick, if I may.
Sure.
Love the dynamic though between Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Brad Pitt just plays a fucking hothead, and Morgan Freeman is just a seasoned veteran who's just very patient, very mindful. And then you throw Kevin Spacey in there. They did the right thing casting him for that role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, not to get too sidetracked, I just watched American Beauty a few weeks ago. Love that movie so much. That plastic bag scene gets me every time.
It's
All
a
right.
great Ricky Fitz.
With a respectable job.
Lester? What are you doing?
Honey, this. This is Ricky.
This is Ricky Fitz.
It's so good. I love that movie.
It is a
Okay,
good
so
movie.
blind ranking of detective movies. We got Prisoners 2. We got 7-4. Silence of the Lambs.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
hmm
Mm-hmm. We'll go three. I feel like there's something here that's gonna catch me at the end that will have to be number one. So we'll go three. I love it. I think it's amazing. I think Ted Levine plays Buffalo Bill. Ted Levine.
It puts the lotion on.
Wait.
Would you?
Is that great big fat lady?
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
I mean, solid. What that's like early 90s.
Yes.
I would say definitely ahead of its time. Um, for when that was made, the topics that that movie, gets into and starts to explore.
hmm
Just impressive all around. I'm not sure who made that movie either.
Well, if I may say really quick, you mentioned it being brought up in the early 90s, which is insane because at that time horror was dead
It really,
because
yeah, that's a great
because
point.
of the 80s, because
Hmm.
of the 80s. I mean, as you see behind me, I'm a diehard slasher film, but if I'm being honest, there's so many terrible slasher movies out there. In the 80s, they really milked it to death. So by the time 1990 came rolling around, people were sick of it. People hated horror, especially if we're talking slashers, which Silence of the Lambs isn't really a slasher film, but it
No,
still may fall into that category.
serial
So it
killer
worked,
genre. Yeah.
considering the genre was dead. And
Hmm.
you know what? Anybody watching this, you can say whatever you want to say about Buffalo Bill. One thing you can't take away from the man, he's got great taste in music. All right, the fourth.
Yes, he does.
All right, the fourth
Q
movie.
Lazarus. Q Lazarus,
Hugh
right?
Lazarus, Goodbye Horses, and then John, there's a song he's playing earlier in the movie, which is called Alone by I think like Paul Newman or something.
Okay.
Um, we're
Fuck,
gonna
I'm gonna
throw
watch that movie tonight when we're done
we're
here.
gonna throw
I'm
that
gonna
right
watch
here, and
it.
just be mindful. It's a song playing in the background, way before the Goodbye Horses song, and it is at dark, but just like if you bump that, whew, just get out of my way. Um,
I'm gonna watch that tonight because
check it
it's been a minute, but yeah, Q. Let's just touch on this. Q Lazarus goes with Goodbye Horses goes with anything. It's a skate song. It's a snowboarding song. It's fucking a horror movie song. Like you can put that song to any
out.
video and it just works. It's one that you play in the bar, on on the fucking use your phone
Which we've
app or
done.
whatever. Same, same.
No, I'm talking you and
Every
I. You and I have
Oh
done
yeah,
that
yeah.
what, 4 times before? Just
Absolutely.
hijack the
Anytime
jukebox.
Amanda, yeah, for sure. Anytime Amanda and I have gone to the bar too, I always steal that jukebox app and fucking play Q Lazarus. It's
You
great.
have to. You
Timeless.
have to.
Hmm.
You're right, it does go with anything. Apparently even kidnapping and making skin suits. All right, so the blind ranking of detective movies, he's got Prisoners at 2, he's got 7 at 4, he's got Silence of the Lambs at 3. This is a pretty solid list. The fourth movie I'm going to throw at you, The Little Things.
That's easily five.
Hmm,
Yeah,
okay. Really?
definitely. That
Not a
wouldn't
fan or
that
just a
wouldn't
strong
even
list?
just a strong list, and honestly, that wouldn't even break my top five.
Okay.
Uh, it's all right. It's Jared Leto does great.
Yes.
Um, I think he does great in any role he's in, really.
Mhm.
Requiem for a Dream, his best movie, hands down, if you've ever seen it. Um, but yeah, in terms of, I mean, what I think it was a straight to Netflix movie, so you're gonna instantly lose points with me.
Hmm.
Denzel's great, obviously. Rami Malek,
Yes.
good, good in that as well. But I liked it, didn't love it. Totally forgettable, in my opinion. So that's gonna take number five.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, There is a strong theory. I don't know if you've watched any video analysis on the movie before, but a strong theory that Denzel Washington's character is actually the killer. And if you rewatch it, it actually makes sense. I personally don't think so. But it's a cool dynamic to add if you give it a rewatch.
I remember the ending, what does he burn something that
So, yeah, I love the ending. Malik's character obviously kills Jared Leto, and his whole thing is he's obviously struggling with guilt and shame of the murder.
Don't you ever go back to his place? Don't you ever let his name cross your lips? Don't you ever pull his file? Because if you do, he'll rise up out of that ground. He'll do you in.
But then on top of that, they never even had any proof that he was the murderer. Like Jared Leto was a very unreliable narrator. He was lying to them. He's had a history of lying to them before. So even though they both thought he was their guy, they had no proof. So in the aftermath of all of that, he was struggling with the guilt, the shame, and just the regret. And you can just tell he's just sitting outside of his house, just bugging. And Denzel Washington knows that. And Denzel Washington's character went through something very similar earlier in his career, and that's what led to his heart attack, which led to his career being derailed because he was literally going through exactly what Rami Malek's character was going through. So he intentionally sent Rami Malek a piece of evidence that they were looking for in Jared Leto's house,
that's right. But didn't
which
he
was a
buy
red
it?
beret.
Right.
So he sends that to Rami Malek, and Rami opens it in the mail, and he's like, "Oh my God, thank God, we got our man." And that guilt and shame kind of that guilt and shame kind of disappears there because even though it wasn't by the books, he can now sleep at night, and he realizes I didn't just kill an innocent man. I now killed the man responsible for these deaths that we've been looking into. And then the very last shot of the movie is Denzel Washington is burning a brand new beret set that he just bought. So it
Mhm.
actually wasn't the legit evidence. He just
Right.
went out, bought it, and mailed it to Rami Malek's character to ensure he would not go down a similar path he did. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I loved the ending. One of actually my favorite detective movies. I really do. And the score to
Really?
it is beautiful. Yeah, the
Okay.
score is beautiful. So here we go now. The fifth movie to our detective blind ranking. You got Prisoners at 2. You got Seven at 4. Silence of the Lambs 3. Little Things 5. And drum roll, the last movie I'm throwing at you, Point Break.
Okay.
Point Break.
It's not tragic to die doing what you love.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a good number
Bodava.
one. Yeah. I mean, if Zodiac was on here, I would have put Zodiac as number one, but Point Break, that is one of my top five movies of all time. I don't, again, we're going back to the cheese. I don't care about the 90s cheese.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. Patrick
Amazing.
Swayze, Keanu Reeves, love it. So yeah, yeah, fuck it. Point Break, number one, best detective movie of all time.
It's
Um,
funny. You were putting this list together, and in my mind, like I know what's coming. I'm like, I think he's going to be very pleased with this list ending. I think he's going to really like what he put together here.
yep,
Um, and you know what? Just a future idea. I would love to do just an episode on like maybe our top 10 or top 20 favorite movie scenes of all time.
yeah,
And one of my favorite movie scenes of all time is the skydiving scene in Point Break. Just
that's real.
it's to me
That's real.
just a beautiful scene. Obviously, it's real.
Hmm.
And that scene every time it hits me, or every time I watch it, it just hits me, puts me in
Yep,
my vibe. So great
absolutely.
movie. Are you happy with your list?
I'm happy with it. Yeah. If it was up to me, I would take off the little things and squeeze in Zodiac top five somewhere
Mhm.
personally.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, Point Break, who can be upset with that? That's a classic.
Rock and roll.
So many movies afterwards ripped it off, in my opinion. Um, Fast and the Furious. I mean, it's a complete rip off.
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever watched a full Fast and Furious movie all the way through. I have no interest in it because it was so obvious what a rip it was. And Patrick Swayze, one of the best actors of all time. Keanu Reeves, one of the best humans of all time from ever whatever I see of him, online and whatnot.
Yeah,
He's got a great filmography to him as well.
he
So
does.
yeah, I'll take that list all day.
Yeah, that's a hell of a list right there. Some great movies in there. And a little fun fact about Patrick Swayze before we move on to True Detective. Fun fact, the movie The Outsiders, obviously a classic movie with an unbelievable cast. If you Google images The Outsiders, and all the main characters are right there. You see Patrick Swayze in the very back, and he's the tallest. But if you really focus on the picture and you zoom in, you realize he's the tallest because he's standing on a cinder block. And he insisted when they were filming The Outsiders that as the big brother, as Derry, as that dominating guy, in the household, he's like, I have to be the biggest one. So, and he was ironically one of the shortest, in the cast. So when
Hmm.
they were doing promotion photos and promotion shoots, he made sure he was standing on a cinder block. So yeah,
Nice little fun fact there.
yeah, absolutely.
Just a great actor. Donnie Darko we touched on earlier, in
Hmm.
our podcast series, and
Yeah.
he made a cameo in that of sorts. Red Dawn, another classic that we grew up on, amazing.
Wolverines!
Um, Ghost,
Yeah.
which is, in my opinion, it's not a horror movie, but it's one of the scariest movies
It
of
is.
all time. So good. Fucking
Call.
Ghost. Huh?
Call.
Call?
Carl?
That's great.
All right. Well, do you want to get into True Detective season one, episode one here?
Yeah, let's jump into episode one. You wanted to uh break down True Detective season one,
Yep.
one episode at a time for the next several weeks until we dissect the entire season.
Yes.
We both agree, it's on both of our number one television series of all time for so many reasons. But yeah, this week we wanted to jump into episode one, dissect it, analyze it, discuss it, and break it down a bit and discuss some things that stand out to us, some theories, clues, symbols throughout that are setting you up for later, foreshadowing throughout the series. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Definitely my favorite show of all time. Believe it's the best television show of all time, and it just catches you right off the bat. I mean, you press play, and it's a dark Louisiana night, middle of a field, this big beautiful tree, and you just kind of see this fire in the distance, with some dark shadows. You don't see what's happening, but just the very first few shots of the show it just catches you. It just brings you right in. And you have two different storylines. You have, I believe it's 2012 and 95,
Yep.
if I believe.
Hmm.
So you're kind of jumping back and forth from present day Rust Cole and Marty. And they are being interviewed.
Yeah, just a caveat on that, the opening, because I just rewatched it just for the purpose of, this dissecting it here and discussing it. Very atmospheric, creepy vibes right from the get-go. And I will say you actually do catch somebody carrying a body into the frame.
Mm,
It almost at first glance it would look like Marty is carrying Rust out by the end of the episode, end of the season. Like
mm,
it looks like somebody's wounded and somebody's being carried into screen, onto set. And obviously we know what that is. It's, Dora Lang being carried to her demise, essentially. They really get the setting right. Uh,
yeah.
with the direction of it. They really capture the deep South. You're fully immersed into it. You are in deep South Louisiana, where full-blooded Cajuns, that's all you've got down there. Um, it's real stricken with poverty, and it just works. It fits for the entire series, but you really get fully introduced to that and dropped into the middle of that setting right in episode one. Episode one really starts off with meeting Cole and Marty. Just a few things that really grab your attention. They're both being interviewed by those detectives about, the murder that's taking place in 2012 that they're investigating. But
Yep.
Cole mentions that the murder discovery was on the day of his daughter's birthday in
Yeah.
95, January 3rd, 1995. So it's symbolic in a way, that's telling that, these characters, specifically Cole, is going to be dropped into something that's going to rattle, his reality even more than what he's already experienced in life. But yeah, it takes you into the murder scene, and they observe Dora Lang's um, crime scene, the antlers, the swirl symbol on her body, that
Yeah.
they're going to come to experience multiple times throughout the series. But I rewatched it, and I really like anymore being introduced to characters and seeing their backstories and how it, portrays them, or how they're portrayed based off of, what we see of them. And, for example, Marty is describing the types of detectives there are in the world, or in the country, or in the state police, the CID, to, in this interview that he's in. And he says, we all fit a category as detectives, which to me, this is totally foreshadowing. But he's also describing himself as a person, as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a detective. There's a bully. You can be a charmer. You can be a surrogate dad. You can be the man possessed by ungovernable rage. You can be the brain. And he's literally describing himself. This
Mm.
is right, beginning of the episode. And you don't
Yeah.
know anything about Marty at this point, but he's literally describing himself by the time the series is over and you get to fully experience the Marty drama, And then the detectives ask him, well, what type were you back in 95? And he says, just a regular type dude.
Oh, I was just a regular type dude with a big ass dick.
With big ass dick. You
So
know
it's like,
what?
even
Yeah.
his ego, he knows he's describing himself, but like,
Yeah.
just a regular type dude. That's the best way he can break himself down. And he knows what he said is all true about him. He
Yeah.
was all of those things.
And if I may piggyback that, because I know I love where you're going with it. You're jumping back and forth from 95, 2012, 95, 2012. And like you just said, they do a lot of storytelling without even telling you what's happening. So you
Exactly.
see them in 95 and you see them in 2012. And you can tell they both went two completely different paths.
Yep.
You can just tell right off the bat they're probably not speaking anymore. And you can just tell, okay, you have no idea Cole is a bartender. You have no idea Marty is running his own security firm. But you do know that Marty's got it more together, career-wise and just, putting on that front than maybe Cole does, So just seeing that time jump to 2012, you can definitely see that they went in two completely different directions.
Yeah, something went down.
Yeah, exactly. Something went down. They're probably not speaking anymore. Some great storytelling there. I have a question for you now. You brought
Hmm.
up the Dora Lang scene, and you brought up the antlers. And that's a question that I've always wondered because episode four, who goes there, or is it episode five when they get Reggie Ledoux? Russ Cole turns and looks at him and says, "Why the antlers?" And obviously, out comes Marty and handles Reggie Ledoux before he can give him an answer. But it strikes me like, why the antlers? Why the crown? Because you hear throughout the entire series the Yellow King, the Yellow King. They don't put her on a pedestal. They don't look at her as this respected high being, this superior being that they're like offering to the gods. I mean, they treated her the
Like an
lowest of the
animal.
low, like an animal,
Yeah.
So is that why they put the antlers on her? Because that's what they looked at her as, just an animal, just a piece of meat? What do you think?
I think so. And that was something that I thought we would discuss later on in this episode. You you meet her ex-husband who's serving time.
Yeah.
Fuck's his name?
The ex-husband's name?
Charlie Lang.
Charlie Lang.
And what does he say? He's like, Dory came in here, and she kept
Fucked
going
up.
on about how she was gonna be a nun.
Hmm.
and she kept going on about how she met a king. And it
You could duck hunt with a
with a
rake.
rake.
Like she could duck hunt with a rake.
I mean, he kills that role, whoever that
He
actor
does.
is. But yeah, so like he's going on that he had been in communications with her and that she thought she was joining this godly, faithful movement, where she was turning her life around. And little did
Yeah.
she know that these guys that she was running with were prepping her for her ultimate demise, what they were going to do to her. And she had no idea. So, yeah, I think that plays a huge.
No, you're absolutely right. She had no idea. And Cole calls that, Cole calls, and you just said they're prepping her. She had no idea and they're prepping her. And Cole calls that throughout the series, believing that they were microdosing her with methamphetamine and LSD, starting off very small, small doses every single day to the point where she's just not even coherent. She's
Yep.
so high. She's under the influence so much that she has no idea what's going on. Yeah, I mean, Russ Cole shoots from the hip. Like, if he's got an idea throughout the series, he lets it be known.
Oh, thanks. You guys can the bar is pretty good today.
And when it comes to the case, he was damn near right about everything, if
Everything.
not everything, you
Yep.
know?
I think that's a great segue into the point I wanted to make too, is because Marty and Rust, they represent the differences, the main differences in the type of people there are in society. People who are super deep, read into everything. Um, that's Rust. Everything is very spiritual to him. Everything has a deeper meaning to him. Go to Marty, everything is superficial, surface level, materialistic of the world. And an example of that, they're in the middle of, let's back up to the opening scene. They're in the
Hmm.
middle of investigating a murdered woman,
Hmm.
clearly a cult sacrifice, if you will. And Marty takes the time to break from the investigation to re-invite Rust to dinner. It's like there's a naked woman murdered,
Hmm.
brutally murdered behind them, and he's so uncomfortable with it that he has to break Rust aside and be like, "Hey, by the way, you gotta come to dinner, man." And it's like that, he was uncomfortable in that moment. He expresses later on in the car ride home with Rust that he's never seen a crime scene like that. He was shaken by it.
Hmm.
He was out of his element. And like you said, Rust is right the entire series about everything. Marty is literally just the follower.
Yeah.
But it goes to show in that moment that when things get uncomfortable for Marty, he's the type of character that's gonna do anything he can to make himself feel comfortable, um, regardless of what it is, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
He disassociates from whatever's happening around him to bring him back to a more comfortable place because he's totally uncomfortable with himself as a man, as we see throughout this series as it goes on. He doesn't know who he is,
Hmm.
as we find out and learn more and more about his character, as opposed to Rust, who I believe he even says at some point in one of the episodes, I know who I am. Marty
Hmm.
doesn't. Marty never knows who he is, as we see with his fights with his wife, and we'll get there. But yeah, I thought I rewatched it and I was like, huh, who would be investigating a murder and take the time to say, hey, time out.
You gotta
Rusty,
come to
you
dinner.
gotta come to dinner, man. I
He
can't
doesn't
explain.
he doesn't even like invite him. He just goes,
You
"You gotta
gotta
come to
come.
dinner."
Right. I just want to have dinner. I think the opening of that episode's great. Just we really learn about Rust as well. He starts going into starts dropping his one-liners about what his philosophical beliefs are.
I contemplate the moment in the garden.
Humans are creatures that should not exist under natural law.
Hmm.
We've become too self-aware. He's essentially saying, humans are the only animal on planet Earth that can look in a mirror and have a sense of self.
Hmm.
You know, you're looking in a mirror and you're like, well, I'm John, or I'm Justin, or I'm Rust Cole. No other animal on planet Earth, you look at a dog, what a dog does in a mirror, and it's like they tilt their head sideways. They're shocked. They're like, "What is that?" They have no idea that that's them because they have no sense of self. Humans do, and that's what Rust is getting at, that's an error in natural law, in evolution, that humans should not have that ability. And because we do, that's why there's so much fucked up shit in the world.
Programmed with total assurance that we are each somebody, when in fact everybody's nobody.
It's
Exactly.
this important self-righteousness, or,
Hmm.
grandiose entitlement, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a quick question for you, not to get too sidetracked here.
Sure.
Um, the major, at least the first of two majors throughout the season, Kevin Dunn, I
Yep.
believe his name is.
Yep.
Terrific actor. When you see him, other than True Detective, any movies come to mind?
Small soldiers.
Yes. 100 fucking percent. That and
And
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Let me spell it out for you. I want you to blow up Madison Square Garden.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
great for
He does
sure.
a he does a great job as well. I love the transition too, where it's like, as time goes on, they get a new major, and the actor who portrays that role is also unbelievable. But
Yep.
two completely different majors, but one thing they both have in common is they do not fuck with Russ Cole. Oh,
Not
for
at
Christ's
all.
sake, fuck off, Cole.
Yeah, and that leads me to my question is that deliberate, or are they just not on Cole's level of investigating? Because something else. Okay, so they leave episode one, we're talking here. They leave the murder scene
Hmm.
of Dora Lang, and Marty, Woody Harrelson's character, goes and reports to his superior. His name's Quesada.
Yeah,
Major Quesada, not Major, Sergeant, maybe?
let's call him Queso.
Queso. So he explains what's going on. Queso is pretty much like, how's Rust? Is he gonna, work out on this case? Kind of weird because we know already that Rust has been with Marty for 2 or 3 months at that point and has already solved two or three
Two
murders with him.
cases. Yeah,
Two
two
cases.
cases.
So for this case to come up and all of a sudden they're questioning Rust's ability is odd. Marty says, no, we're on it. He's good. I got him. I'll take the lead. He walks out. As he walks out, Quesada's superior walks in, and that's Captain Speece.
Hmm.
And he's always in his, captain blue uniform, and he just looks like a fucking prick. And
Oh yeah.
Marty even walks by him and calls him a fucking prick.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
No, no, fuck that prick.
But throughout that episode and throughout the season, specifically the first 3 or 4 episodes, anytime there's a news conference or some higher up Reverend Tuttle's around,
Yeah,
Speece also
Reverend
happens to
Tuttle.
be in the background. So it's like that captain who has very minimal dialogue is just there making his presence known because
Hmm.
he's probably the an inside job guy for the Tuttles, for the higher ups, who are a part of
Yeah,
this cult. They've
great point.
got they've got a guy on the inside at upper level, upper echelon, and that's Captain Speece.
Yep.
He's just always present, and that's something that I never really picked up on until more recently. Like that, what was the point of his character? And then because he really doesn't have any lines, he doesn't say much. He's just a sarcastic dick and has an angry face, all the time. And it's like, no, he's there deliberately. He's there scoping it out, seeing where they're at with the case. You just aren't made privy to that. Again, good directing, good writing.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. I definitely think it was deliberate. And throughout the series, as we take it episode at a time, we'll break it down more. But you could also potentially think that way about the two detectives that are interviewing in
Absolutely.
2012. I mean,
Hmm.
Russ Cole even has his paranoias about them, that he ends up communicating to Marty. And then you bring up Reverend Tuttle too. I mean, you have Queso introducing Reverend Tuttle in episode one, if I'm not mistaken. He
Yep.
comes through and you can tell right off the bat that Cole is not happy, especially when Tuttle brings up the anti-Christian thing. That obviously did not make Cole happy at all. There's a war going on, gentlemen.
I don't need to tell men of your positions, but there is a war happening behind things.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up about the Major. Wanted to bring him up because he does play a great role, but you are right. He's on Cole's ass, all season long.
Yep.
They both are.
And that does just, between Queso, and Spies, especially Spies, it's just symbolic that there's always corruption, and either both of them or one of them are supposed to represent that behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Cole obviously accepts the invitation to dinner,
Hmm.
and he gets absolutely shit-faced, shows up with some flowers, and he does sit down for dinner. And one thing that I wanted to bring up in tonight's episode was Marty walks away, takes the phone call. The game plan is to get Cole out of there. And Maggie's talking to him a bit. He's holding it down, speaking to Marty's kids. And obviously, Cole opens a little bit up about his background, his divorce, his deceased daughter. And I wanted to ask you this. Why does he tell Maggie that? I have three theories, and I want to see what you think.
Okay.
Does he open up to Maggie because he thinks she's hot and he wants to fuck her? Um, he's drunk and
I'll
he's just
say
being
no right off the get-go to number one.
okay.
I don't
He's
see that at
drunk,
all.
so he's drunk, so he's kind of just being, a little lazy, a little too forthcoming, a little bit more than he usually would be. Or three, because she literally asked and showed a little bit of interest in Marty's, or excuse me, in Cole's life, something that Marty's never done. What
Yeah,
do you think?
definitely three. That's always been my impression.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, I also feel like there's a sense of sympathy for her because I think he already knows Rust is having an affair at that point. I believe it's earlier in the episode where Marty's co-worker, who he's having an affair with, shows up with the depositions,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, let's find someplace more private." Like Rust observes that, and I think the dinner scene is after that happens. So I think it's just more of a yes, she does ask personal questions of Rust, something that Marty is totally against and is a dick about and doesn't want to even get to know him anymore because of, his philosophy about life, but it's more of a humanity element in my opinion, where he feels sympathy for her and honestly could be a shot at Marty, wants to make Marty feel uncomfortable in that moment.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think there's any nefarious plot in Rust's mind at that point that I just think it's because she shows genuine interest.
I agree. Even later on in the season, when they do end up hooking up, he obviously has instant regret, and it was obviously, put on by her, 100%. But it was still something that I thought about, if we were
Hmm.
breaking down, all the reasons behind it. How
Sure.
about how about the devil traps? That was something else. Really gives me Blair Witch vibes. I think those things
Yeah.
are so cool. They're obviously scattered at the Door Lang crime scene, and that's how season one, or that, excuse me, that's how episode one caps, is they find it in, or
At a babysitter's house of Marie
Marie
Fontenot,
Font,
who
or
we
not,
come
yeah,
to find out was a little girl who went missing.
yeah,
Um, Early, years before that.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Blair Witch because when they're interviewing that babysitter, or who I don't know if they're like long lost family members who watched her or something, but Rust actually looks out the back window while they're being interviewed and glances through the kitchen door to the backyard, and there's a swing, like a child's tire swing or, whatever, hanging from a tree limb. And there's actually a shape of a Blair Witch uh, tied together sticks in the swing, the ropes
mm,
of the swing kind of form. And I think he saw that symbol and was like, I need to go investigate outside. We know, he sees things and he hallucinates. He
that's
definitely sees something in the backyard that catches your eye, even as a viewer. And you're like, oh, that kind of looks like Wiccanry. So another scene, we follow Marty and Rust. To a different city where they're now looking into the disappearance of the Marie Fontenot girl, thinking that there could be a connection or a correlation between her and the Door Lane case. So they're, following their leads, following Rust's lead, honestly. And the police chief or the sheriff at that station mentions something that we don't get too much clarity or details on for multiple more episodes after episode one,
Yep.
closer to the end of the series. But he mentions how another potential victim was chased through the woods and made a police report about being chased by a green-eared spaghetti monster.
Hmm.
And I just gotta say, the first time I watched this and saw the police sketch that they show in the series, it's creepy, but it really makes your mind take off like, okay, is this supernatural? Is there something supernatural going on? Or is
Yeah.
there a logical explanation for it? And I feel like they tread, right down the middle of the supernatural and logical explanation for it. They tread that pretty well, in my opinion. Because when this all comes first full circle and we learn more about the green-eared spaghetti monster and what's actually going on, it's just so well done. Like it just fits perfectly.
Yeah.
It doesn't give away too much. It leaves up to imagination. You're starting to wonder like green-eared spaghetti monster. What could that even mean? There has to be a meaning behind it. And sure enough, there is. And we learn more about it, later on in the series. But that always stood out to me. I remember the first time watching this show and hearing that and seeing that police sketch, like my mind was instantly like, huh, is this actually a supernatural show? Is there like demonic entities or whatever? Or
But yeah, it treads down the line of detective movie, detective show, and honestly like a horror movie, horror show. When
definitely.
they show that picture, it's okay, they're not giving a description of a man. They're not giving a description of a woman. It's the green-eared spaghetti face monster.
Hmm.
And they do a really good job teasing it throughout the season. I mean, when they visit the church, when Russ Cole goes to the mental ward, to see one of the little girls that they end up rescuing in episode five. They do such a great job teasing this scarred man. Not just a scarred man, but this abnormally large, freakish man. They literally use the same words to describe him throughout the entire series. So I agree. I agree. It definitely gives you horror vibes. It kind
Hmm.
of
It
plays
gives the
with that
monster a
line.
face, and it's like
Yeah.
a monster's face, which I think is a genius way to approach it. They're not looking for a man, they're looking for a green-eared spaghetti monster.
Yeah. And in that scene, when they're speaking to the sheriff, is it the Sheriff Childress? No, no. It's the sheriff who talks about Childress
Childress, correct.
being the sheriff at the
At that
time,
time, yep.
who is when the Marie Faulkner girl goes missing. There, Marty even says 10-year-old girl goes missing and this shit isn't like statewide, like
Right.
nobody heard about it. And he's like, well, I heard, that the little girl ran off, with her dad and moved because the mom was, struggling with X, Y, and Z. And it turned out that the sheriff at the time was Childress, who has ties to Reverend Tuttle, the green, eared spaghetti monster, so they do such a great job throughout the entire show speaking about different people in this family. We talked a little bit about Reverend Tuttle earlier in the episode, and then you talked about the major queso's boss coming through and being a dick. Was he being a dick deliberately? And they're literally like laying it out for you in episode one
Literally
for
in
you to
front
put
of
the
you.
case together,
Yep. It's
for you
all
to
in
put the
front of
case
you.
together. Yeah,
Yep.
it is.
It really is.
And that's what makes the reveal towards the end of the show. And when they start putting things together and learning about the Childress family and the Tuttle family, it just, oh, you get those senses like, oh, that's what that was. And, in my opinion, that's what really makes or breaks, movies or television shows is when they get to that final act, when they get to those final episodes and they start putting the pieces together for you,
Such a
it makes you
rewarding
say,
payoff.
got it. You know what I mean? It makes you
Hmm.
say, I see now, so yeah, it's just unbelievable right off the bat, and they really lay it out for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if I want to mention this or not, but it also, I believe it was in episode one, you see the greenhouse as well. Like
Yeah.
there is a flash of the greenhouse that, they come to investigate 7 episodes later. as to where this green-eared spaghetti monster came from. And I don't know, I mean it's hard for any viewer to like pick up on things like that when you're watching, but the storytelling behind that is like, again, everything you need to know is right in front of you and laid out, presented to the watcher in episode one.
Yeah.
Here are your suspects. Here's the location and what's going on, and you
Well,
just
the
don't
thing
put
of
it together.
Yeah, the thing about detective work is they always say you can't believe in consequences. And then, that very last episode when they put it together, actually, Marty puts it together, which you got to give him his flowers. He's the one that really makes that connection at the very
Hmm.
end. But it is Cole's, statement. We got to be looking at these with, green eyes. I believe he says something like that. And that's what triggers Marty. Why green ears? So looking at a statement like that and seeing it really all come to surface at the end of the show, you're absolutely right. They're dropping the clues for you. And as a viewer, it's like, okay, there's a greenhouse there. Why would I think green
Exactly.
ears? You know what I mean?
Right.
But, once again, that's what they're doing. They're doing it intentionally. We spent a little bit of time talking about that last week with, the Joker's monologue. Like they knew what they were doing when he's sitting down with Batman. He's talking X, Y, and Z because X, Y, and Z starts taking place in about an hour and in the following film. Well, they did that intentionally here. We're gonna put that greenhouse, halfway through episode one. We're gonna tell them about the green ears, and maybe people put it together, maybe they don't. I certainly didn't, but they still put it there, and you know, wondered if people would catch it. Did you catch it?
Absolutely. No, no,
I didn't either.
definitely not. Not the first time I watched it. The payoff was just so rewarding the first time you watch this show. You want to kick yourself, and you feel like Rust and Marty would feel as the actual detectives on this case.
Yeah,
If it was real life, you're just like, wow, how didn't I catch that? Or
yeah.
we'll get to more and more, with each episode, but just so well done.
And it's an awesome ending. It really is when they're back at the house where the little girl mistake me. They're back at the house where, correct me if I'm wrong, the little girl saw the green-eared spaghetti monster man.
Yes,
And that is, where they find the devil trap, the
right.
stick figures in the back shed. And it's just such a cool way to kind of end the episode because you start the episode with these things. And Cole is so fascinated with them that he's drawing them in his book. Marty could really care less. Marty's just, like you said, you got to come to dinner. Meanwhile, Cole's over there, the tax man, taking notes, drawing the scene. Very good drawer, by the way.
Hmm.
So I really like how, one of the first things you see in episode one are these devil traps, as you put it, and then that's what they cap with, which is a really cool thing to bring up. The devil traps. The pastor that they're talking to towards the end of episode one is saying what the purpose is, and they are to, well, it's pretty self-explanatory, catch the devil if it gets too close. When they do these rituals, when they do these big, extravagant, sacrifices and rituals and what have you, they align the perimeter with these devil traps, and it's scary, when you think about it, because they're obviously pretty hardcore, they're pretty gnarly people, but do they truly believe that, all right, we are doing this because we are, in the cult, but are they really like terrified that the devil could get too close and the devil could do X, Y, and Z to them if they don't put these traps? Or is it just a ritual thing for, it's very ceremonial, like is it because they believe it's protecting us from the devil, or is it ceremonial, like let's decorate the scene? What do you think?
I'd like the question because I do have a theory for this. Leads me personally to think, if you're a member of this cult, who do they perceive to be the devil? The law? Are they planning these traps to catch the devil who's on their tail? They lay these traps out for guys like Rust and Marty to walk into, and get distracted or sidetracked, in their investigation. Maybe they look at those guys as the devil, and they're trapping them. Um, to go with that, earlier in the episode, Rust tells the investigators who are interviewing him, I had to explain to Marty what a metapsychotic is. And if you look up what a metapsychotic is, it's somebody, who acts psychotic about their own psychosis, essentially. Um, very into patterns and, elaborate reality staging, of their own psychotic mind. They want to put that out there and, have others experience and normalize it essentially. So it's like metapsychotic, any psychotic who acts psychotic about their own psychosis, just making it more and more elaborate and in depth and chaotic for those around. You're all of a sudden thrown into their psychotic world,
Mm.
trying to figure out who the psycho is. You're literally a part of it now. So I think that's also why they put out these devil traps because they are psychotic, but they're putting it out there for people to be involved in their psychosis realm, reality. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like
Yeah,
it's like
interesting. Yeah.
they believe it probably figuratively and literally that it is legit. Like we're gonna put out these devil traps and these people are gonna get trapped in them in a sense, but more so like thrown off by them, derail their investigation, not know where to go next with it. That's kind of how I interpreted it. I could be way off, but I didn't think it's a coincidence that, Rust states, like, I had to explain to Marty what a metapsychotic is, and then you do research about what that is, and it's, they're brought into their world, you're brought into their world.
So that's really cool to hear you speak on that because I never really looked at any of the characters in that light. Do you believe that, the killers, especially the main three, well, I guess we should just say all of them. Do you feel like they do struggle with mental health along the lines of like schizoaffective disorder, where they struggle with, hallucinations, auditory, visual, tactile? Like, are they psychotic in that means where they live in this false reality?
Well, I think we'll get to that more as we are introduced to the suspects. But yeah, first, I mean, I would say so. I would think any serial killer is probably a psychopath or psychotic, in my opinion. When we are introduced to the suspects and the guilty parties, there's no remorse. They
Mhm.
all are crazy. The main villain that, by the time the series wraps up, the green-eared spaghetti monster,
Hmm.
he is a multiple personality,
Yes, he is.
uh,
Yep.
sexual offender,
Yep.
murderous. He has so many diagnoses.
Yeah.
Somebody would clinically diagnose him with multiple issues,
Yeah.
clearly, So yeah, I think to answer your question, if I am answering it,
Yeah, you are. And if we jump and we'll continue to get into this, with the episodes to come, if we're looking at mental health and we're looking at psychosis and hallucinations, we talked a little bit last week about Reggie Ledoux and the Black Stars. And Rust Cole, sees the same exact thing, which is a great kind of question to think about is are they hallucinating or
right,
is that what happens when we die, are they on the cusp of that transition and
seeing what
they're
they were,
they're seeing what they were like we were talking about last week, or is it just a visual hallucination where they're just seeing something, I know Reggie Ledoux and Russ Cole are two completely different, people. Not putting Cole in Ledoux's category whatsoever. However, though, if you're thinking about it, then Russ Cole has a history of hallucinations stemmed from his PTSD days. He sees things.
and his
You know,
intense drug
he's
use, right?
yeah, he's seeing things. He may not be like hearing things or feeling things, but he's certainly seeing things. He has to self-medicate with cough syrup just to kind of like calm down and like be grounded with it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
if we're looking at the hallucination thing, like it's interesting, it's interesting. Is it a psychosis? Visual hallucination? I don't know. We'll see.
Right, definitely. So yeah, good breakdown of episode 1 of season 1 of True Detective. We are going to, for the next 6 weeks or so, break down one episode at a time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave your comments below on what your theories are, what you picked up on in episode one, what your thoughts are of the series. Justin, any last words or thoughts?
No, looking forward to continuing this next week, episode 2. And once again, just thank you everybody who took the time to tune in and watch. Please, if you're new here, subscribe, hit the like button, and we look forward to chatting with you guys in the future. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching. So yeah, hey, maybe we can meet for a whole meal of food.
I know if you wanted to get together for frozen yogurt sometime, or
Maybe
actually a whole
even
meal of actual food.
food.